Well, hello, everybody. It is Monday night, September 13th at 6 p.m. Central Time, and that means it is live with me and the Stampmaven. I'm going to give everybody a minute to just pop in. I want to welcome you all. I am so excited about this live tonight. And I am going to enlarge my screen so I can make sure that you're seeing everything well. Okay. Like I said, I am super excited about doing this live tonight. I gotta tell you, I had seen lots of different people using their ink pads and their blending brushes, Stampin Blends, and I thought, oh, it looks pretty cool, but I wasn't, like uber excited. But man, now that I've been playing around with it, guys, this is such a cool technique. So let's get started. This is the first card that I made. So I used Fresh Freesia, Just Jade, and Coastal Cabana. Now, these colors are what I would call more of a pastel palette. So you would expect them to be kind of light anyway. But what I found, I used the 70% isopropyl, otherwise known as rubbing alcohol. And I had seen a lot of people post, oh, you really need to use the 91%. Well, what I had in my cabinet was the 70. So I thought, all right, I'm going to just do that and see how it looks. Well, as we progress tonight, you will see that the 91% really does give more of the wow look. So this is the first one, and you can see here, let me bring in a couple other ones I did just to kind of show you. This is the vellum piece that I ran through my painted texture embossing folder. Now, what I did when I ran it through, and here's your first tip, I ran it through on a piece of white cardstock. The reason being, the vellum is fairly thin. So if you back it with this other piece, you're going to have a layer that you can use for another card. If you wanted to, you could certainly go ahead and put your adhesive on the back and mount it right on this card before you put it on something else. If you mount it on a piece of white, you're not going to see the adhesive through it. And I used, let me turn it around so you can see it, I used the Stampin Seal. Now, on this particular card, you can't see it, but I actually used our adhesive sheets because I thought, well, vellum, usually you can see adhesive through it. And then I mounted it on gold, and then I used my Just Jade. So right here is where I used my Gilded Leafing for the first time, and I'm going to show you how I did that. But also, I just wanted to show you, you could use just a plain piece of white to do your backing. Now, look here. If you back it on a solid cardstock, this happens to be soft succulent, you're going to see some of those crackle lines on the vellum. Now, if you don't mind that, well, hey, go ahead and mount it. Then you can also put your other layer, in this case, that's the fresh freesia. You could also do it this way and then put on your soft succulent. It's just what your preference is. So let's get this piece here that I have run through the embossing folder. Next, I'm going to take, and this is what you would do. What I did first, just let me step back. On my vellum, I used my blending brushes and I just dipped it in my ink and I started rubbing it on my cardstock where I wanted it. The Just Jade, then I used my freesia, and then I put some of my Coastal Cabana. You can dry it with your heat tool or just let it dry automatically. So I'm going to do half of this where I'm going to do the gold leafing so you can see how it looks a little bit different. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is, I want to make sure I have the right side here where it's raised. I'm going to take my Versamark pad and I'm just going to kind of pounce it on top of this. Then I've got my heat and stick powder. And I just keep mine in a little, what are those things called? Gladware, something like that. And then I'm going to just tap it off. And you can see that it's all around here. Now, if you don't want it in as many places as it is, just take your finger and kind of get it off of there. I'm going to leave most of it on there because I want you to be able to see it. So then the next thing, I'm going to bring in my heat tool. I'm going to move this heat and stick powder out of the way because I don't want it flying all over. And then we're just going to heat it up. And hopefully you can see it here. It doesn't take very long for the powder to start melting. Can you see that? Hopefully you can. Okay, so that's really all you have to do. Then I'm going to bring in my Gilded Leafing. I keep mine, actually, this is in something from Whole Foods that I cleaned, mushroom truffle. Then you're just going to start putting that gold leafing on top of where I melted my heat and stick powder. Then you're going to just take a sponge, or, you can even do it with your finger. And you just start rubbing that off. Okay? So can you see there that nice gilded leafing on here? And then here it's plain. See how that pops it up? Then the next thing I do, I move my Gilded Leafing out of the way, put the top back on, and how do I know to keep emphasizing this to you? I blew mine all over my craft room because I wasn't paying attention. Then you just give it a quick little pop with the heat tool, and now that's set. All right? So that is the first way using the 70% isopropyl alcohol. Okay, now we're going to get trickier here. Okay, let me bring in these two cards. 1 and 2. Okay, so on these cards, and I'm going to show you this one because I think it's really cool. What I did on this one is I took some bolder colors. So I used Gorgeous Grape, Granny Apple Green. I used a little bit of Mango Melody, And then I used polished pink. Now, if you look really closely, can you see I also did some stamping here on top? I used my artistically inked stamp set. And the reason I chose it, look right here at these images. Those remind me of the alcohol stamping. So I thought, I wonder if I can stamp on top of it. Well, the answer is yes, indeedy, you can. And if you notice, I put the Mango Melody in places where I wanted the center of my flower to be. So let's see, I'm going to do it right here, and we are going to start. These are our wonderful blending brushes. I've got a whole bunch of them, and I tend to use like the same, what would you say, the lighter colors together and the darker ones. So let's start here with my mango. And I'm going to try to kind of recreate this. It is not going to look exactly the same. And that is what is so fun about this technique. It looks different, comes out different every time you do it. All right, now I'm going to add my gorgeous grape. And I'm going to put it around here. This is where I'm actually going to be stamping my flower. And, you know, I didn't know if this was going to work or not when I did this, but I was tickled to find out that it worked. Okay, it's a little hard to see. You can see it better on this one. There's leaves actually stamped over that green. So let's bring in the green, and we're going to put it up here because I'm going to shoot my leaves this way and then this way from the other one. And we're going to put a little more down here. Okay, and the last color is my polished pink, which is one of our in colors. So let me grab my blending brush, and we're going to kind of come around here. Okay, and then let's get it over here. And I'm not going to make the whole card for you, but I want you to see the technique. Okay, so now I've got my Stampin' Spritzer right here, and I've got my alcohol in it. So now here's the magic. Watch the magic. So we're going to just spray it on here, and you see how it's starting to move around there? Now, you could, if you wanted, and I'm going to show you on the next one, I'm going to use a drinking straw to actually move some of it around. Now, I'm going to heat it up because, and I'm going to just use one of my water brushes to hold it in place. I want this to dry fairly quickly so I can stamp on it. And we'll see if it cooperates. Let me turn it down, just one little crack here. Now, it is going to move a little bit. And the cool thing is, you can actually add more color on there if you want it to be a little darker. So let's just get this going. Isn't this fun? This technique is just You're going to love it when you start doing it on your cards. Now, the one thing you do kind of want to pay attention to is you don't want to burn your vellum. So you got to be a little bit careful when you're doing it. Otherwise, it will burn. Okay? Let me get a paper towel here. It's a good thing everything's kind of close in my room. Okay, then I'm going to just dab it around the edges here. I want to be able to stamp on it and show you. Okay. All right, so that should be pretty good. All right, so now I've got my block. Let me just clean that off. And I'm going to get out this is the flower I'm going to use right here. And you're going to want to stick around to the end because the last card and technique I have to show you with the blends, I think it's going to knock your socks off. Okay, so again, I've got my same gorgeous grape. And I'm going to come right in and I'm going to stamp right here. So, see now how you've got kind of the purple out here, but you've got the yellow in the flower. Okay, then over here, I'm going to just stamp it again without re-inking. And it's a little bit lighter, which is what I wanted. Okay, now I am going to clean this off so I can stamp with the pink. So let me bring in my trusty Stampin' Scrub, and I'm going to actually clean it off camera here because that's not that exciting, is it? All right, clean that off. Now I'm going to come in and get my polished pink. And I'm going to stamp my polished pink up here in this corner. All right, kind of like that. And then you see that? Can you see how it's kind of starting to take shape? All right, now we need our leaves to complete this. And let me come over here and grab those leaves. Stick that back in there. I don't know about you, but do you sometimes lose like die cuts or small stamps if you don't put them back in your case while you're working on your stuff? I do that all the time and it gets quite annoying. Okay, so let's put our leaves right here. Okay, can you see those leaves? Okay, and then over here, I'm going to kind of stamp it off a little bit. And then over here, I'm going to do them down here. Okay. Now the fun thing is, let me clean off these leaves and get them back in the place so I don't lose them. I've actually had to order a couple of new die sets because I've lost one of the pieces, and Stampin' Up doesn't sell just one piece. Okay, so look at that. Isn't that awesome? Jane, the pound weight of vellum that I'm using is the Stampin' Up cardstock vellum. And let me see here if this actually says the weight. You know, it doesn't say it on here, but I will look that up for you. It is rather thick here. I've tried it with some leftover vellum that I had that we don't sell anymore, and it worked okay with that too. But I will look that up and get that either posted tonight or tomorrow. Now, what I wanted to show you I would put my greeting right here, kind of like I did on this one, and I would use the ribbon. You could look what happens when you turn that over. This just gives it a very different look. So there's that side, and then there's this side. Isn't that cool? I've just never seen anybody show that before, and I just thought, oh my goodness, it is so cool. All right, so that is those cards. Now, let me bring in this. I have not put into a full card yet, but this is one that I used doing Stampin Blends instead of the blending brushes. And I just think this is phenomenal. I actually tilted it while it was wet, and it just looked so great. Linda, thank you. Gloria, I just think it is so pretty. Okay, now are you ready? Da 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 da. Okay, Carol, thanks. I'm glad you like them. Okay, this is the one that I'm going to show you because I just think this is stunning. And, you know, what I learned with this technique was trial and error. Normally, when I do these lives, I have everything all set and I do my outline and everything. But tonight, I really just wanted to kind of do this going along and show you my excitement, I hope, because this is just so cool. The other thing I wanted to tell you, if you haven't gotten any of these brushes yet, these will just wash off. After I'm done with my live, I'll stick them under the faucet and there will be a little teeny bit of stain on there, and that's why I just kind of use different brushes for each one. You get 3 to a package and they have a nice size handle. It's almost like a spoon and they're very easy to use. All right, yes, so now let me get these ink pads out of the way. And I actually showed part of this on my TikTok channel too. I am on Facebook, obviously, that's where we are now, but I also am on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel, which is Stampmaven, and I've got lots of videos, techniques, tutorials, so I'd love for you to pop over there and like and follow me. So here we go. What we are going to use on this is these Stampin Blends. So all you do, and truly it is this easy, guys. I'm going to start with my yellow. So it's going to end up looking a little bit differently than this, which is by design because I want to show you. So I'm going to use my brush end, which is the fat end, and I'm just going to start making little lines around here. And this again is Daffodil. I may not have even told you. It is my dark Daffodil Delight. Then I'm going to come in with my dark Pumpkin Pie. And we're just going to put more color down. And truly, there is no rhyme or reason here. Now, I find using about 3 colors works the best. If you get too many, it's going to muddy it up. Now, you could put just like, okay, let me show you with the red. This is real red. It's kind of, the cap on the Stampin' Blends is a little misleading, but it is dark real red. And these to me are kind of fall colors. So we're going to just get that here. What I started to say is you could, if you wanted, pop in just one more little color if you wanted, but I'm not going to do that. Now, I have it in just this little container right here. And then this is the largest of my water brush. You could easily put it in the barrel and squeeze, but I find you get a little more control doing it this way. If you have not used these brushes, what I wanted to show you is they actually, you fill it by unscrewing it in the opposite way. So it's going counterclockwise and then clockwise to put it together. All right, are you ready? So I'm going to dip in my brush, and now I'm going to just start tapping here on my paper. And then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to pick up more. Do you see the magic happening? And you can put as much or as little alcohol. Do you see it starting to go? Isn't this just beautiful, guys? Okay, now you can see the difference, hopefully, from this card. It's when you use your blending brushes, it gives you like more color here. And since I used the 70% alcohol on this, it didn't spread as much as this. So, I'm going to try it again and do it with the 90 and also the stamping. So the other thing you can do that is real fun is just take this straw and you can start blowing. And it moves your color around a little bit. So you can play with that. It is just so much fun. All right, now I'm going to use my heat tool again. Sorry for the noise, but I want to show you how I got the gilded leafing on here because it's different than what I did on the other card. So let's just do a little drawing here. Hey, Maria and Donna, do you like this technique? It is so fun. And the other thing, let me show you one more thing before I get it all dried. It is just truly so much fun. You can also take one of your re-inkers if you wanted to, and you could just add a little blob there and add a little more alcohol and see how it starts to spread. And now you just get a whole different look by doing that. And you can even kind of spread it around. I mean, the sky is the limit, truly. All right, let's go back to heating this up. And depending on the colors you use, can you see, let's say if you used blues and some greens, that could look kind of like the ocean. And you could be doing a seashell theme. Donna, I think you got that seashell stamp set. So that is definitely something that you could use. Okay, and that's dry already. Easy peasy. Then I'm going to take my tissue, because this is pretty much dry, and just dab it. All right, now, I did not have a two-way glue pen at my house. So I thought, okay, I'm going to improvise. I bet I can use my fine tip glue pen. Stampin' Up! Used to sell the two-way glue pen, but they don't anymore. So what I did is I took this glue pen and I just started laying down a thin line of glue where I'm going to put that gold. So again, I don't want to put too much on here since we're doing this live. I just wanted to give you the gist of it. And then, of course, on your fine tip glue pen, you want to get that little cap right back on or it will dry off. Kay, I agree. I love that blue-green combo. And let me bring it back in. I wanted to show you what colors I used. I actually used Night of Navy. You can see that there. And I used Bermuda Bay. And then I used my Gorgeous Grape. And then my Granny Apple Green. This Granny Apple Green is one of my favorite colors, guys. All right, so now we've got our glue. And then what I'm going to do is bring back in my Gilded Leafing. And I am just going to start putting it down on here. I could easily just turn it over and plop it right into this. But I thought, okay, I'm going to just show you doing it this way because I can control it a little bit. Okay. Then we're going to just let it kind of melt on almost to that glue. And you might have to do it a couple of times to make sure that it sticks where you want it to stick. So, and like I say, you can take your finger and get it off where you don't want it to be. I kind of like it when it's spread out all over and not just in one place. But again, you can go back in, and if it doesn't exactly stick where you want it to, you can just push it back down in there and then it'll start sticking. But I am actually going to go get a two-way glue pen because I think I will even like that better. All right, now what is my thing I have to remember? I have got to close this up. Now the last thing that I put on this card right here, see these little gold leaves and little berry kind of things? These are part of the Expressions in Ink ephemera pack. It actually comes with these little sequins, which hopefully you can see. I've got 5 of them on my card here. Well, it looks like one of them fell off. I had another one right up here. I always like to put an odd number on there. I took an art class. Actually, it was one of my customers, and she is truly a real sells her paintings artist. So she did a class for some of my customers and me, and she told us that typically when you're putting on embellishments, pearls, or focal points, that you want to have an odd number rather than an even number. It's more pleasing to the eye. So here are some of the things. We've got, can you see here, we've got like shapes that will come off that you can back. the leaves, the little berries, and there are so many of them in this ephemera pack. And you can actually, of course, these are sticking to my finger, but I just want to see you to see how many there are. And of course, we sell the gold foil paper, which I use to back my first card right here. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you, I did not use a cinnamon cider blend, which is this right here. But when these colors kind of morphed in together, it looks like there's some cinnamon cider. So I actually took cinnamon cider and I mounted my focal piece on there. I backed it in the white first because I think when you use the white, it just sets it off a little bit. And then when I stamped my hello, I used smoky slate. Black was too harsh, but I didn't want to pick one of the colors that was in here. I wanted it a little more muted. And then I just used a couple of glue dots to put this on here. So what do you think? Do you think this is a technique that you want to try? I hope you do. For more ideas, if you don't go to my blog yet, you can go to stampmaven.com and you can actually sign up for my newsletter there. And once a week, you will get exclusive tutorials. You'll be the first to find out about Stampin' Up specials and other things that I'm doing. This is my Stampin' Up store at annbrown.stampinup.net. So if there's any products that you don't have and you don't already have a demonstrator or you're not a demonstrator, I'd love for you to shop with me. Well, that is what I have for you tonight. Feel free to leave me any questions and I will certainly answer them and give you all the help I possibly can as you do this alcohol, blends, or ink technique. Bye-bye for now.